Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. In today's video, we're going to be doing an unboxing and feature overview of the newly released Segway ZT3 Pro Electric scooter. Now, Segway does build the ZT3 Pro as an off-road capable scooter, so we'll absolutely be putting that to the test in future videos. But for today, we're going to be pulling this thing out of the box and seeing what it's all about. And one thing I do want to mention is I did purchase this scooter with my own money, so this is not a sponsored video. Now, with all that being said, let's jump into the details. All right, folks, so this is what the ZT3 Pro looks like inside of the box. Appears to be very well packaged. And one thing I do want to point out here is that it's got some pretty quick and simple instructions. Looks like we need to extend the stem, attach the handlebar, secure it with the included hex screws, and then pull it out of the box. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So the first thing that we're going to see in the box here is going to be the charging brick. And this particular charger is 3.9 amps, which is actually pretty crazy because most of the chargers that we see come with scooters are usually around the 2 amp range. So 3.9 amps is going to greatly increase your charging time. Going another layer down, you can see everything is packaged very well in plastic. And then over here, it looks like we've got our instruction manual as well as those hex screws that we're going to need to use to attach the handlebar to the stem. Now we're going to go ahead and lift the stem as well as this handlebar assembly. And then we're going to lock it into place. And I'll show you that locking mechanism here in a moment. And we're going to go ahead and take out our handlebar assembly. And we'll make sure we fish these wires here into the stem itself. And now that we've got the stem attached, we're going to go ahead and twist in the 4 hex screws with the included Allen key. Now the manual does say that they should be torqued down to 5 Newton meters, so you'll see that 5 Nm. You'll need a torque wrench for that. I have this one here from Lexavon. It's one that I use on all my bikes and scooters. I'll include a link in the description below in case you're interested in that. But either way, we'll go ahead and tighten this down. There we go. We'll do the same with the other one. And then we'll do the same with the front. So there you have it, folks. That was literally the entire assembly process on the ZT3 Pro. As you can see, super simple in typical Segway fashion. So let's go ahead and get this thing pulled out of the box and take a closer look. All right, folks, so there you have it. That is the Segway ZT3 Pro in all of its glory. And I have to say, this is an absolutely beautiful scooter. Just looking at this thing, I'm not sure how they priced it the way that they did, at least for the pre-order pricing, I think around 900 bucks. But this thing is definitely a stunner. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the features of this scooter. So starting here in the cockpit area on the left-hand side, you'll see we've got our turn signals. Those are visible both from the rear of the handlebar as well as the front of the handlebar. So definitely nice to have. You've got these really grippy hand grips here that don't appear to twist, which is always nice. Looking at our control pad here, there's several functions that you've got. One is going to be a custom button. They say the default function is hill hold assist, so if you're parking on a hill. You've got a left and right hand turn signal indicator. You've got the power button as well as the headlight button there. And then you've got this mode switching button as well as cruise control. And in the manual it says in order to enable cruise control you have to be going greater than 5 kilometers an hour. Then you have to push and hold this button for 2 seconds to enable cruise, which we'll definitely test in our first ride video. Here we've got a bell. That's what that sounds like here. So definitely pedestrian friendly. And as we work our way over to the right, we've got a 3-inch display. There is, I don't know if you can see it here, there's some kind of a smudge there. I don't know if that was some adhesive from the packaging, but I tried to wipe it off, but I'm gonna have to use something like maybe rubbing alcohol or something to get that off. There was no like plastic screen protector or anything on here, which I found a little odd. Anyways, we've got our little Segway branding here, and then working our way to the right, you'll see we've got our throttle, which is a thumb thumb throttle as well as a twist throttle, so if you have a preference of one over the other, you have choice on this scooter, which is fantastic. And then of course we've got our right grip as well as our right turn signal indicators. As we work our way down the stem, you will see we've got this kind of loop mechanism here. This is going to be for the folding mechanism on this scooter, which we'll demonstrate in a moment, and then you can just push that forward and lock it into place. Here at the front of the scooter, you will see we've got a headlight. Looks very similar to the headlight that they use in the ninebot Max G2, so we'll definitely be putting that to the test. And then of course we've got our manual brake levers, both on the right as well as the left, which actuate the disc brakes on this scooter. As we work our way down, you'll see we've got a front little reflector here, as well as some internally routing of the cables. And then we work our way down further, and you'll see we've got more reflectors on the left as well as the right side. And then you've also got this really nice hook, which you can use to, hook a bag or a helmet, whatever it might be. Always nice to have. A lot of times you see kind of this functionality that also doubles as like the folding latch mechanism. This is actually dedicated to actually carrying stuff, so that's really nice. As we work our way down, we do have our latching mechanism, which we'll demonstrate here in a moment, but it looks pretty robust. It's a multi-step process for that latching mechanism. And then of course we've got really nice cable management. This is well braided cables here, to keep it as clean as possible. Looking at the front of this scooter, you'll see we've got these daytime running lights. So these are not your main headlights, these are basically ambient lighting in this X pattern, which I find to be really cool. And then of course we've got this plastic fender here, which will help keep some of that dirt and water and grime or whatever it is that you're riding on off of you and away from the scooter. We've got 11-inch wheels here, which is a really nice thing to see because the ninebot Max G2 has 10-inch wheels, and generally speaking, the bigger the wheels, the better. You'll also see we've got our suspension here, which is, to my understanding, just a coil spring suspension. There's no hydraulics here, so we'll definitely see how that feels. The ninebot Max G2 does have a front hydraulic dampener as well as a rear coil. This scooter's got coils all the way around. And then of course you're going to see we've got our disc brakes here, which are manual. They're not hydraulic disc brakes, but nonetheless it's nice to see disc brakes because the ninebot Max G2 has drum brakes and they're not the greatest in the world. So definitely nice to see discs on this scooter. Now as we work our way to the neck of the scooter, looks very robust. You see you got the tubular frame here, which extends up into the actual steering mechanism here. But this here is a lot of plastic trim, make the scooter look all fancy, which it absolutely succeeded in doing. And then of course here we've got our charging port. That's where that monster of a 3.9 amp charger plugs into, and it's really nice little rubber seal, as you can see here, to help keep the elements away from the scooter. Working our way back here, you'll see we've got a pretty spacious deck. It's got this silicone covering, so definitely good for grip, not great for cleaning, but who cares about cleaning? We're here to ride and enjoy these scooters. We've got a kickstand assembly here. It looks pretty robust, but for the size of the scooter, it looks kind of small, so we'll take a look at how this thing stands up here in a moment. And as you work your way back here, it does look like you've got some expansion ports here under the actual silicone mat. So if you need to attach accessories, you should be able to do that. This here is going to be for the latching mechanism when you fold the scooter down. And then of course we've got a functional kick plate, which is always going to be important with scooters with more power. It'll help you adjust, the position of your body so you can counteract the forces that you experience when accelerating on a scooter. Working our way back, it looks like there are some additional expansion ports for accessories, so we'll probably see those on the Segway website at some point in the future. And then of course we've got our tail light and brake light assembly here in the back, as well as on the rear fender, so we'll look at that here in a moment. Further back here, you'll see we've got more of that red tubular chassis, kind of making an appearance along the side of the scooter. And then, of course, we've got more plastic trim pieces here. And then you've also got plastic trim pieces on the swing arm assembly in the rear. Looking at this, we've got our rear disc brake assembly, as well as this fender assembly here, which is also made of plastic, but the supports for that are made of metal. Now, the star of the show is going to be this rear motor. It is 650 nominal watts, but it's capable of cranking out upwards of 1600 peak watts of power when you're in boost mode, so we'll definitely be testing out speed and acceleration. Now, speaking of speed, this scooter can go upwards of almost 25 miles an hour. They say 24.9 miles an hour, so we'll definitely be putting that to the test. And I don't know how well you can see it back there, but that is our rear coil spring. Now, this Segway ZT3 Pro does run off of a 48-volt system, and with its 12.75 amp-hour battery, you're looking at approximately 597 watt-hours of capacity. Now, in terms of range, that 597 watt-hours of capacity is going to get you approximately 43 miles of theoretical range, as well as 18.6 miles of range riding around near top speed. Now, I say that with some fine print. Those are all theoretical figures based off of, a 165-pound rider riding on flat ground with minimum stop and go, 77-degree Fahrenheit temperatures outside, basically treadmill conditions. So what you actually get in real-world range is going to depend on your riding conditions as well as your weight. Now, in a video that I'll be publishing in the coming weeks, we will absolutely be doing a full range test, and that's going to be with me weighing in at approximately 204 pounds with gear, so stay tuned for that content. So coming back to this weather-sealed charging port actually reminded me of something. This Segway ZT3 Pro does carry an IPX5 dust and water resistance rating. IPX5 basically means that this scooter can resist low-pressure water jets from any angle, so you definitely have some water resistance with this scooter. Just keep in mind that most scooter companies don't actually cover water damage because they don't really know if you were riding around in rainy conditions or you threw this off of a dock into a lake. So just keep that in mind when playing around with water and scooters. When it comes to choosing an electric scooter, I know a lot of people look at portability, specifically weight. Segway does claim that this scooter weighs in at 66 pounds. On my scale, it's showing up at 65.9 pounds, so pretty much on the money. Another weight factor to consider is that this scooter will support riders up to 265 pounds or approximately 120 kilograms. Speaking of portability, if you need to fold this thing up, it's actually pretty simple. First thing you're going to do is undo this hooking mechanism here. Next, you're going to go ahead and lift up this lever and then pull this latch. And then you're going to push this down, which will allow you to fold the stem. And once that stem comes down, you'll see it latches into place, and then now you can pick this thing up. And if you want to unlatch it, you can just push this down, lift, and you are good to go. And if you are curious what that screen clearance looks like, there is a gap, and even when you push it all the way down, that screen doesn't come into contact, so you don't have to worry about messing up your screen. Some scooters, this is kind of a tricky situation because it could hit on the back plate. Not so with this ZT3 Pro. Now, if you do end up purchasing this scooter, you take it out of the box and you go to power it on and it doesn't turn on, don't freak out. You actually have to activate the battery first, and in order to do that, you have to plug in the scooter to a power source for at least 3 seconds. Now that I've plugged it in for at least 3 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and push and hold the power button. And look at that. We have got lights. 0 kilometers an hour. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and connect this to the app on my phone now. Alright, so I got my Segway app open. Looks like I got a firmware available for my ninebot Max G2. I'm going to go ahead and click the serial number here, and then click Add Device, Bluetooth Search and Connect. It sees the ZT3 Pro. We'll go ahead and click on that. Connecting. Power on, unlock the vehicle, and press the power button to pair. Alright, so we'll come up here. It says to push this button, I think. And this says device pairing successful. Okay. There we go. Still beeping at us. I have to watch a riding guideline video. We'll go ahead and start that. Perfect. That is definitely not in English, but that's okay. It looks... Oh, we can't fast forward. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and then we'll continue when this resumes. Alright, so that tutorial definitely wasn't in English, but it looked fascinating. I went ahead and clicked on skip, and now we are at our home page. We got 75% battery with an estimated range of 23 miles, and it's got that, red, aggressive, angry looking background. So we'll just see how angry this scooter really is here when we do our first ride impressions video later on this coming week. Alright, so now that this thing is powered on, I'm going to go ahead and turn on those headlights. And there's the headlight, pretty exciting. We'll see what this looks like in our first impressions ride when we go ride around at night. And then of course we've got our, X pattern, ambient, daytime running light, which actually looks pretty cool. We'll see what that looks like in a later video at night. And of course in the rear we've got our tail light as well as brake light combo. So when you hit those brakes it gets brighter. I thought this little red thing here was a light or tail light or something. It's actually just a decorative tinted piece of plastic. So pretty cool looking, but there's no lights that come out of that. And if you are curious what those turn signal indicators look like, simply push the turn signal. There's the left. Push it again to turn it off. There's the right. Push it again to turn it off. You could also push and hold, and that will enable your hazard lights. And then you just push and hold again, and then it'll actually turn those off. Now taking a look at the app here, we got some pretty useful information. We've got the serial number of the scooter. We've got percentage battery remaining, estimated range. You've got a dashboard view here, which is pretty nice. So when you're cruising around, you can use this dash. And let's say, for example, you start out on a ride and you're 10 miles in and you're like, oh, I forgot to turn on the dash. No problem. Just open up the app and it'll pick up right where you left off. And it's actually recording all of your riding information as soon as you power on the scooter. Going back here, you do have the power off button. There is a settings button here. 1 day as a proud owner, really excited. We've got our locking function here. You can click on that. When you enable that, you can actually turn on a code lock, which I'm not going to do right now. You could also do air lock, which is basically a proximity lock. So when you get within a certain distance of the scooter, it'll automatically unlock itself. There is an abnormality alert in case some abnormal vibrations. Locating my vehicle using Find My. If you click on that, you can actually enable that. I'll do that later. Auto power off, so after 5 minutes of inactivity, the scooter will turn itself off. You do have a traction control system, which you can turn on and off. Park on slope, which is a nice little feature to have. So if you do park this on a slope, you can enable this, and it'll help keep the vehicle stationary on that slope so it doesn't go sliding backwards, down the street. If we scroll down more, you've got choose speed mode that you want to drive in, drive, sport, walk mode, eco mode. You can actually go in here and also adjust the start speed. I'm going to go ahead and disable kick to start, so I'll set it to 0 miles an hour. Energy recovery, this is going to be your regenerative braking. You have weak, standard, and the ability to disable, so similar to the Max G2. Brake priority. It says here motor power will be cut off when squeezing the brake lever. After disabling it, motor power will not be cut off when squeezing the brake lever. So you have some, customizability with that function, which is always nice. Custom button settings. So that big red button that I showed you earlier, you can have it be automatic hill hold, walk mode, emergency flashers, really whatever you want there. And then scrolling down, you've got light effect, which is basically the behavior of your brake light when you pull the brake lever. They've also got breathing taillight. Taillight will display breathing effect when charging. That is nice, but if you're going to be charging the scooter indoors in like your room or something, just know that light is bright and can get pretty annoying pretty quickly. And then as we scroll down further, we have a direction indicator sound, so that's for your turn signals, which I'll show you in a moment. App function tone, vehicle sends out a tone when an operation from the app is done. Scheduled charging, that's really nice, so you can actually schedule your charging times and time frames and automatic cutoff. Really nice to have that feature. Charging limit, you can actually go in here and set it anywhere from 80% to 100%. Charging to a lower level actually helps increase the longevity of your battery, puts less stress on that battery. So definitely nice to have that feature. And then, of course, there's Segway ninebot Lab Hill Descent Control. Upon downhill sections, the vehicle will automatically control the braking system to keep the vehicle speed within a safe range until you ride across the downhill. That's actually a nice feature. I definitely want to test that out because I know on the Ninebot Max G2 when they released it, we had all kinds of ghost braking in the beginning, which was ridiculous. So it looks like you have the ability to, you know, avoid that if you want. Imperial metric system, we're going to go ahead and make sure, yep, we're on the Imperial system. There's some device info here if you want it. Serial number, vehicle temperature, vehicle controller, battery, firmware, motor controller, firmware. You can click here, check for firmware update, and it'll go out and see if there's some firmware, and we are up to date. We won't worry about that. We'll click back here, battery details. That'll give you some battery health information. The current capacity, what the total capacity is, current voltage, which is important when you're cruising around, and then more information on that, temperature, the whole 9 yards. And then we'll go back again. And then there's sleep mode that you can, you know, enable or disable. So a lot of customizability in this app, and I think Segway is probably the leader in the scooter industry with, you know, the user friendliness, I should say, and reliability of their app. It is a very, very good app, and I think the model for all scooter apps. Going back here, you do have some additional functions, which just basically takes you back to that settings menu. You got some community Q&A, self-diagnosis manual, which is nice. If you do get an error while you're cruising around, you'll eventually have something. It's under development at the moment. It is a very new scooter, and you've got some other stuff around service and some personalization stuff that you can do in the app. So very good app experience, tons of customizability. Okay, so now I've disabled kick to start. We are officially in eco mode. After a certain period of time, it will jump back into park mode. In order to get out of that, you can just pull on the brake lever, and then we'll go ahead and turn the throttle. And it looks like that wheel's spinning 9 miles an hour. I feel no vibration. We'll go ahead and hit the mode button again. That'll take us into drive mode. We'll hit the throttle again. No vibration, super clean, 15 miles an hour. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit the mode button again. That'll take us into sport mode, and then we will hit the throttle, and 25 miles an hour, almost no vibration, which means that rear tire is very well balanced. Finally, another really cool function that you have here is you can hold down the brake lever and push the throttle. And when you hold it, you'll see the blinking on the screen. That's going to activate boost mode, which is going to give you significantly stronger acceleration, but it should take you to the same 25 mile an hour top speed in sport mode. All right, folks, so that was our unboxing and feature overview of the Segway ZT3 Pro. Let me know if you have any questions or if I didn't cover anything. Happy to address those in the comments section below. And just know I will be publishing a first impressions ride video, as well as a range test, hill climb test, speed and acceleration test. We'll go take this thing off-road. If we get some rain, we'll ride it in the rain. And then, of course, we'll bring it all together in a comprehensive end-to-end review as soon as I rack up a couple 100 miles. But as always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.